Hey guys, I'm going to be talking to you today about Frankenstein, chapter 17. I'll start off with a brief summary and then we can go into a more in-depth analysis of the chapter. So, as far as a summary of chapter 17 goes, it's a pretty short chapter, and it basically just consists of the creature trying to persuade Victor to create a female mate for him. And he doesn't so much ask Victor as demands him, because he says, "You must create a female creature for me." Victor doesn't respond well to this demand right away. He actually shoots down the idea and says no right from the beginning. He makes a good point because he says, "Look at the damage you've done by yourself. Imagine what two of your kind would do. You could destroy the world." After this, the creature takes a step back and he begins to explain why he's done what he's done, and his conditions that he's willing to make and the sacrifices he's willing to make in order to have this female creature made. So he says that he only acted out the way he did because he was miserable. And he says that if Victor's willing to make this female creature, that he's willing to move to South America with her and not have any contact with the humans, not bother them at all. With all this being put out there, Victor has a change of heart and he ultimately consents to create this female creature. And with that being said, he moves back to Geneva in order to start his project. Okay, so first off, we're going to start with the character analysis on the creature. Overall, I'd like to mention that I thought the creature approached Victor and this whole topic with a very unlikely maturity and wisdom for his age. He addresses Victor in a very smart way because he uses a lot more than just context to win over Victor and persuade Victor to grant his request. The first tool he uses is his tone, and while speaking to Victor, his tone is very reasonable, almost to the point where his request seems respectable, almost noble, and not that far-fetched. Secondly, he evokes pity in Victor, and he's able to do this by blaming his malicious acts on his misery, which his misery is ultimately Victor's fault because Victor shunned him and never showed him any affection, just left him out to dry pretty much right after he created him. And the last thing he uses is his word choice. Many times throughout addressing Victor, he uses the phrase, you my creator. This short phrase is able to remind Victor of his responsibility for his creation as well as the creature's misery. So something as simple as adding this short phrase is able to possibly make that difference in persuading Victor to grant his request. As you move on to a character analysis of Victor, I feel like this chapter could be a period of growth for his character. In this chapter, he finally has a change of heart towards the creature, even though he's still struggling to get over the creature's appearance. He also makes it obvious that he wants to begin to try righting his wrongs. This is probably because he feels responsible for the creature's pain, and he's beginning to realize that it is his fault, and because he is the one who brought him to this earth. And the two previous points begin to show some of the first signs of selflessness in Victor. He's finally doing something and making decisions based on someone else's feelings other than his own, and I believe that this could possibly be foreshadowing future maturity and growth of Victor's character in future chapters. As far as themes in chapter 17 go, I believe there are mainly three themes. The first one, I believe, is prejudice. Victor recognizes his failure towards the monster, but he's still hindered by his original judgment, which is how appalled and put off he is by the physical appearance of the monster. So I think this shows that it's hard to overcome an idea of an individual that you have created and let manifest, even if it is a faulty view. The second theme, I believe, is that acts of revenge only occur to fill voids. The monster only terrorized mankind because of their prejudice and lack of compassion. If this hadn't happened to him, then he wouldn't have any reason to have hurt anybody or done any of the things he had. And the last theme, I believe, is family, and I think that this chapter basically just exemplifies that the links and the sense of responsibility between family is a very difficult relationship to just not care about and not want to uphold. And I think you can see this in Victor's pity for the creature who's basically his son, and even after how disgusted he is by what he created in this chapter, he still wants to help him and ultimately see him in a better state than the miserable one he is right now. And that's all for chapter 17.